Hello and welcome. Good evening. The space will begin shortly. I will just wait a little bit until more people gather. We will talk today about privacy. Today we have some news. So basically, the topic is already at hand. Is already given to us because the news that some countries are basically having kind of a regulatory pressure on privacy coins is something that I definitely think we need to address. And our guest today, which is who is definitely an expert on the topic, will be able to enlighten us on some of these issues. Welcome, John. I will invite you to speak now. Oh, let me know if it works. So, welcome everyone. The space will begin shortly. So, we have the founder of Wownero today with us, John. Welcome, John. Oh, thank you. So, you know, I'm sorry to bore you with this question that I'm sure you are tired of answering, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what basically the story behind founding Wownero. You know, just a shorter version of it, because I'm sure many here already know.
Sure. So I founded or launched Wownero in 2018 as kind of a joke, as like a way to like make fun of this scam coin called Monero V, which was like hard forking away from Monero after the whole Bitcoin Cash drama, and like airdrops were kind of popular at the moment. And so I was just like, at that time, I was working as an engineer at Lawrence Livermore National Lab as like a materials engineer. And I had been involved in cryptocurrency since 2013. I got involved via Dogecoin on IRC, and I started mining different coins back then, and I ended up getting involved with Monero pretty shortly after it launched. So I was, around for a long time, and I just kind of launched Wownero to see if I could do it, and now it's like 5 years later, and it just won't die. So I'm here talking to you, and I was just at Monerotopia talking about it. It's really, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, thanks for that. I was gonna ask you if do you know any other coins that are basically, this that are both kind of a meme coin and a privacy technology at the same time? I think I only know of Wownero. Do you know of any others? I think it might be definitely is the most popular one.
Yeah, I feel like there must have been some other like crypto note. I know, well, there was actually shortly after Monero launched, there was like this explosion of forks. There was this coin Aeon that was kind of maintained by one of the kind of core members of Monero for a long time. So it was like stayed alive. But like Monero got listed on Poloniex after a couple of months, which was like a big exchange back then. And then they listed like all of these other forks from Bytecoin as well. And there was one called Ducknote, which was kind of a meme coin. But then it tried to like change its name and become seriously. It was weird. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying like And that's a proof of work one as well, or privacy. Yeah, not. I don't know. Nothing's coming to mind.
Right. Back when just I want to mention that a little bit of an inside info. I mean, back then when it was really popular, basically Poloniex was the #1 exchange. I worked there, and everyone was like totally into Monero at that exchange. Like privately.
Oh, cool. I'm actually friends with a guy who used to work there. It was like he was a moderator in the troll box, and then he was, I don't know, doing other shit. I'm sure everybody was doing all kinds of things back then.
Oh, then maybe I know him. Yeah. Um, you know, um, One thing I wanted to ask you about is this role that I know that Wownero had of basically being like a place where Monero devs could test, cutting edge new features and so on. Is that correct? And is that still so?
Yeah, I would say for sure. Like it just is. It requires devs who want to try stuff out. Like some of that, I guess, reputation is just from like putting things that are on testnet on Monero onto Wownero mainnet, and just going with it without much testing. So like I think Wownero activated bulletproofs first on mainnet, and more recently the view tag stuff, and like so I some of it is that, and there was some more kind of experimental stuff done when there was a guy, Rene Brunner, who was working on like a multi-sig system for Monero, and he kind of implemented some of that onto Wownero as like a proof of concept. And I think now Monero is going like most likely moving to this whole different addressing scheme, which will, I think, make multi-sig different anyway. So like it was like an experiment on Wownero that didn't really go anywhere, but it was, why not?
Right, right.
But yeah, sorry to finish. Sure, like yeah, if somebody has an idea and they want to try something out, I think Wownero is definitely a place where you have something that's like essentially the same as Monero, and you can try new ideas out. And I guess it'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out, as Monero maybe makes some more fundamental or radical changes to their kind of code base and technology. How and if Wownero keeps up, or what happens.
Right, interesting. By the way, when you said that just keeps going, and even if it started as a joke, that reminds me that also the creator of Dogecoin said the same thing. One thing I wanted to also talk to you about is I was also invited to go to Monerotopia, but in the end, then I couldn't. And I know you were a speaker there. I wanted to ask you, just being at the event, what was your impression of it, like, and just in general, what do you think? Do you think the let's say the interest and excitement, let's say, about privacy technology in crypto circles, do you think it's increasing or it's stagnating, or what's your feel about that? Sorry, it's a two-part question.
No. That's actually like something that I noticed. Well, I guess I would say I had expectations about, and I was like surprised how many people were there and how excited they were. Um, like I was there with my friend, and I told her that I thought there would be like maybe, I think, 50 to 100 people, I'd said. And it was like in this garden complex area that had a big inside venue, like speaking area as well. And over the weekend, they must have had 500 people come through there. And they had vendors in there, and all of the vendors were set up to accept Monero. And they had like clothing and jewelry, but they also had like mezcal, and they had a marijuana vendor with a dude doing pre-rolls, and there was like a mushroom vendor who had all different kinds of magical and non-magical mushrooms for sale, and like everybody was taking Monero. It was really amazing, and food. And the talks were like excellent as well. Like they had Peter Todd there talking about tail emission on Bitcoin and Monero, and they had a lot of technical stuff about kind of the future of Monero as well as kind of more political stuff. But it was a lot of people, and it was a great vibe. Like I was very pleasantly surprised because like I had gone in 2019 in Denver as well, and like in 2019 it was. Oh, sorry, that was MoneroCon. But like, yeah, I guess I caught some of the after party in Miami in 2022, and it seemed kind of small and not high energy. So yeah, it was really amazing, an amazing event put on by Doug and Sunita.
So the way you describe it is, it was like a kind of preview of, let's say, what we dream of society, what it could be, right? I mean, this kind of free market society.
It was, and it was kind of interesting to see. There was like one of the speakers was there from Texas, Derek Bros, and he had like moved down to Mexico and he was living there now. And there was a German dude there attending, and they were both kind of like off the grid, Monero all the way people. So it was a lot more people and a lot more positive energy than I was expecting, really.
Nice. That's something that I really like to see, because yeah, sometimes I do worry that people will lose interest in this, but it's good to see that they are not. Just because to change topic a little bit, just because today there was this news that I tweeted about. I'm in Europe, as you can hear, and I also live just really near the Italian border, so I'm kind of bilingual Italian and Slovene, and so this news kind of affects me more because it's really close to home. Basically, that there seems to be a kind of a regulatory attack, let's say, on privacy coins. Now, of course, we know that this can just affect centralized exchanges. They cannot really do anything to the technology itself and so on. But they definitely can do something to let's say, complicate people's lives, especially people who want to hold and use privacy coins. No, not so much use, but let's say hold, buy and sell, let's say. My read of this is that probably because it seems to be just in France, Poland, and Spain, and Italy, that this is a kind of preemptive, let's say, enforcement of this MiCA legislation that should come into Europe in 2024. And I think just there are 4 countries in Europe that are basically trigger happy, and we wanted to start enforcing this even before it takes place. That's my guess anyway, because as a European, I didn't receive any notice from any exchange. But so I wonder if you have any thoughts on this, but just also in general, do you think this is, let's say, it's just a first act of a series of, let's say, regulatory attacks or just attempts to make privacy coins less attractive, less interesting? And do you think that it will progress in this direction? And what do you think the impact of this will be?
Yeah, I think that this is not anything new. Like you said, there's this regulatory framework in Europe that's been kind of coming along for quite some time now. And there was, I think it was in 2021, like Kraken delisted Monero in the UK, and as well as Zcash, I think, which wasn't done for any, like, there was no clear law or regulation that they were like obviously trying to come into compliance with, as far as I remember. But like, it seems like there's been a lot of kind of self-regulation in Western countries, in terms of not listing Monero for whatever reason. And I think this is, and now there's this more explicit regulatory framework that's coming in Europe, and it's not clear how that would apply exactly to coins like Monero, in practice. And I think that this is just like, you know, Binance trying to cover their ass, based on what they see coming from the regulators. And I think it sucks. Like, yeah, it definitely sucks. And if you're like, I mean, and like, who do you even really complain to if you're in France and you want to buy Monero, like on Binance? Like, there's no even regulation that Binance, like, you can complain to Binance, I guess, but I would guess it's a relatively small part of their business. So like, I think it'll be interesting to see how things play out in the US now. Like, there seems to at least be some regulatory framework that's going to come into law within the European Union that will be used as a basis to try and regulate exchanges, as well as, I think, like mining companies. Whereas in the United States, like, there's been essentially nothing, and who knows like what's going on in China. But like, in China and Hong Kong now is supposed to be like opening up, so there's always like kind of shifting tides of regulation. But definitely in Europe, it seems to be kind of anti-privacy, which is strange as well. Like, I mean, the Europe is also kind of the leader in like consumer privacy with GDPR and stuff, right? And at the same time, they want the state to be able to, you know, monitor all financial transactions or data as well. Like, I think there was some proposed law that was like, you know, recently, that theoretically could be used to ban end-to-end encryption. So I don't know. I think Europe's kind of going overboard with the anti-privacy stuff lately, and I really wouldn't expect the US to follow suit. I mean, I'm partially because like nothing ever passes Congress in the United States, so there's no new laws being made. But it seems like there's more of a kind of individualistic and freedom. I would hope, at least. We'll see.
Yeah. You know, my impression is a little bit like this, that Europe tends to be more problematic when it comes to privacy, crypto, and America tends to be more about whatever looks, like a security. I think probably in America that will be a bigger problem. Those that are,
yeah, I would agree with that.
Pseudo securities. But you know, this whole thing that it's that they're concerned about money laundering and so on is, I really think it's there is a lot of hypocrisy in that, because if you look at how much money was laundered in Europe through the largest banks, and how much in crypto, practically nothing. It's a real. It's hard to believe then that this is the real reason. Because until recently it was amazing here. For instance, there were here in my town, which is a small town, we had an ATM, crypto ATM that accepted Monero, and it had €1,000, so around $1,000 a month. No, sorry, a day, free KYC. So you could take out depositing Monero, taking out €1,000 a day, totally without any KYC. Now they're already changing it to KYC only. So I think also the crypto ATM story is going to end. So, but yeah, basically they cannot do anything substantial. They can just make it harder to use, and they can also they can hide this crypto from the most lowest common denominator user, like let's call them normie user, which they just load an app and want to buy something and they won't see these coins. I think that's another thing they want to do. They want to hide it from let's say the normies, so to speak. But those people, right? Do you agree?
Yes, yeah, I agree for sure. And I would and that's kind of, I think in the US, there's been much kind of softer projection of power from the regulators in terms of keeping Monero off of larger exchanges or going after exchanges like Bittrex and Poloniex. I mean, you can, maybe those guys got shut down for other reasons, but, I think even Kraken now has been subject to Coinbase apparently has as well, but Kraken is basically the only place that lists Monero in the United States. And I think part of that is people trying to stay clear of, potential issues with regulators. And it sucks. It sucks that that's the situation that we find ourselves in. And yeah, it does. And I was going to say that a couple of years ago, I moved back to the East Coast in the US, and I was talking to a friend from childhood. And, at this point, I've been deeply involved in crypto world for 8 years. And he was telling me how he just got into crypto and he had an account on Robinhood and Coinbase. And the only things he owned were Bitcoin and SHIB. I was like, bro, what the and that's, if that's kind of what you see there and it's put in front of you, then yeah, a lot of people won't go deeper than that, and it hides it from users for sure, and that sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Although maybe I'm thinking that one good, I don't know about good, but let's say if we wanted to turn it into something positive, I think we could see this as an opportunity to, as a push towards DEXs, right? So,
I mean, I'm an optimist, and I see it as an opportunity to get people into crypto, and then hopefully they will learn some things and figure out what is not a scam and what you can use to transact privately and lots of other things as well. But yeah, I think DEXs always seem 6 to 12 months over the horizon. They're one of those things that, except on Ethereum, right? If you're just using Uniswap or on an Ethereum clone, it works. But for cross-chain stuff, I think right now the best DEX is local Monero, which is very manual, kind of quasi DEX, and you're just not going to get a lot of people who are buying Monero to, even just if they want to use it, that's a pretty, it's not the same as just going on Coinbase and buying it in 5 minutes,
Yeah. I mean, the convenience aspect here is the major difficulty. You mentioned the Ethereum ones. I have to say that, when it comes to ease of use, Ethereum really shines in that department. I'm waiting for Monero. I'm waiting to see when Serai DEX will be available. I'm not. I was following for a while, but now I haven't been following so much lately the development.
Oh, he was at Monerotopia, and I got to talk to him quite a bit. Luke, it's coming along. He said that I don't want to hold it. Maybe I shouldn't even say, but I asked him like when mainnet, and he said, I think he said early 2024 maybe. So it's definitely still coming along, and he is grinding on that. Um, I was gonna say, as far as kind of dexes and swaps, um, also at Monerotopia was um, someone presenting research on Ethereum Monero atomic swaps, which just went on to mainnet. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name, but she gave a talk at Monerotopia. Newt Elizabeth Newt, and she was funded by Magic Grants, which is an organization that I'm a part of. It's a nonprofit that helps fund research and development on Monero and other cryptocurrency communities. So there was ETH XMR swaps. The research was kind of helped get funded by Magic, and she gave a talk at Monerotopia, and that also recently went on mainnet. And I just think like that stuff is amazing, and it's just like if it was liquid and there was like a way people could use it on their phone like very easily, like, then maybe it would have like a chance to really get some significant usage. But it's like it always seems like that kind of polishing and stuff is a little bit over the horizon. But hopefully now, like there's a number of options now for atomic swap stuff with Monero, which has always been kind of a little bit of a more difficult coin to integrate with because it doesn't have any scripting language like Bitcoin or Ethereum. But yeah, I was going to say also for Magic right now, we just started a fundraiser. Sorry to get off topic. But real quick, I just wanted to say Magic Grants, magicgrants.org is doing a fundraiser for Session, the privacy messaging app, which runs on top of the Oxen cryptocurrency network. So Session would like to raise some money to do research against messenger censorship. Their app got really popular a few months ago, and in Iran, like because Iran was blocking other popular messaging apps, so people started using Session to bypass that. And I think eventually the government of Iran kind of caught on, and they were able to continue start blocking Session as well. So that inspired the team at Session to try and think of some ways that they could bypass like government level network censorship attempts on messenger networks. So sorry for that off topic shill for Magic Grants. I was reminded of that when talking about atomic swaps with Newt. So yeah, check out magicgrants.org. There's a link to it, or you can find us on Twitter and check it out.
Oh, thank you. Definitely, we support Session, and also thank you for telling us about Serai Dex. Maybe this is the first time it's like it will create hype. But you know, you mentioned that Monero is a bit harder to integrate. Yeah, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm here. A lot of people listening to me are from the Decred community. We have a DEX, the DCR DEX, and unfortunately, yeah, Monero is one of the hardest to integrate. There is Bitcoin there is Decred, there is Zcash. I think Fyro is thinking to integrate, but yeah, Monero is a challenge for the reason you mentioned. But it will be really great to have it. You know, if any Monero devs would want to attempt that, I think they could put up a proposal on the Decred proposal website, and they could get money from the treasury to integrate it. I think because it will be a much requested feature. But I think that in the end, like you said, I also see the problem in convenience, like how to make DEXs convenient for people to use. And I think I agree with you that only Ethereum has been successful with it so far. But I think that is what is needed to really, and I think maybe regulation will push people towards it in the end. In the end, maybe if they don't manage to become convenient enough, then the only thing that will push people to use them is really this regulatory scare, so to speak. But you know, this atomic swap I use, for instance, is not so hard to use. But yes, for instance, no mobile app and so on. And I hear, like, I'm a desktop person. I'm always on my desktop, but I hear this is by now this is like a boomer thing. So everyone is using mobiles.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think anything, if you're talking about usability, like number one, it's got to work on mobile. And it's like, it's crazy, even though like Ethereum is the most easy to use for swapping like ETH for USDC or whatever, right? Like, it's still like, even now, and especially like a year ago, MetaMask on your phone was just awful. Like, there's still no great mobile. I don't know, like Rainbow. I've tried a few and they're getting better, but even for ETH, like the wallets were not great for a long time on mobile, especially. So I think mass adoption stuff, I don't know, like it still seems like a mystery, or maybe it's happening more in places that are not the US. Like I've heard a lot of stuff about usage more in like South America, and of course there's like El Salvador and Bitcoin, as well as I think in like the Philippines and Thailand and like Southeast Asia, there's a lot more usage, like day-to-day usage of cryptocurrencies. But I don't know, like some of these apps I think just don't seem usable enough for like day-to-day normal people.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, yeah. This is something that I'm thinking a lot about, because how to bridge convenience and basically the fundamentals, right? It's so difficult, because mostly you lose people immediately if it's not convenient, if it's not a few button click, you lose them so fast.
Yeah, like right, you're competing with like Cash App, right? And like I'm speaking as someone who's like given away cryptocurrency over the years. Starting like the first time I gave away any coins was probably like 2017. And it's like it's always confusing, and I feel like it really hasn't gotten that much better over the years, right? Like it's still like you have to write down this long string of words, and then they definitely are going to lose that string of words, so you should keep a copy as well. And it's just like still yeah, I mean, and it takes time for people to catch up as well, for sure. But yeah, I think it's still not quote unquote user friendly.
Right, right. I just remember now of a friend who once told me that she cannot access her coins, and basically then I told her to come over, that we will look at the situation. And in the end, it turned out that definitely it was not. She lost all her coins because she heard somewhere, you know, that you should take coins out of the exchange. She just heard this. She didn't know exactly why, and then she wasn't very technical, and she did it and she lost. So because she kept it on her phone and it crashed and she couldn't find the seed and so on. So that kind of enlightened me, you know, because before I always thought I would always give the same advice to everyone, but now then I noticed, I don't know, you know, for some people maybe keeping it on exchange, if they have a little bit of money, it's not the end of the world. So it's a difficult question. Ideally, I would want everyone to, you know, custody their own coins. I would never keep it on an exchange myself. But I wonder. Definitely, this part, you know, custodying is not solved yet. I think not in a good way. Recovery, especially recovery, also. I remember Nick Szabo a few years ago when he was still tweeting. He tweeted like 3 points that he thinks are needed for crypto to really advance. And one of them was DEXs, which we already discussed. One of them was better custody, better custody, and recovery in case of lost phone or whatever. And the third one, I think it was related to Lightning Network, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, the custody stuff has been in the news recently, also with all of the Ledger controversy. Whatever you think of it, like obviously I think if you give them the benefit of the doubt, like they're not trying to steal anyone's coins, right? The intent by the company was user friendliness and like to prevent lost coins and stuff. So it's definitely still not a solved problem, I would say. And another kind of proposed solution that I've seen recently on Twitter is the whole I can't remember the word that the Fediment, like federated mints, which is they talk about as being like layer 3 on Bitcoin, where you have kind of this multi-signature account where there's like guardians who like watch over the Bitcoin of the whole community, which I guess would be like friends and family who deposit, and then based on this Bitcoin deposits into the Fediment, they can mint other tokens that can be like instantly swapped. And so it's kind of a hot topic on Bitcoin, and maybe that's one path forward. But yeah, I guess maybe my optimistic view is that in 10 years, like kids that are turning 18 will just kind of have a much better understanding of what a private key is, and like and some of this stuff will be abstracted away, like sure, but like there will be a lot more kind of general knowledge out there in the ideosphere.
Yes, exactly. Like so much was abstracted away from the internet, right? Those of us who still used the earlier versions of the internet, let's say Web 1, it was much different when we saw the guts of the internet, but now it's all abstracted away. Nobody sees anything, which is in some ways it's maybe sometimes I think it's a bad thing because people understand it less, but in other ways I think it's also the convenience aspect of it is also good because it saves you so much time for focusing on other things. So I'm of two minds. And speaking of being of two minds, another thing is that when I was on your, I was checking your website, and I noticed that you also had a few articles on NFTs. And I wonder if you're like me, because I'm also from earlier. Basically, I started with crypto more seriously in 2013, and so basically, when the whole NFT craze started, my first reaction was just like, what the fuck is this? I was like, why are people trading pictures and so on? But then I started trying to make sense of it, and I tried to get over myself, and I thought, okay, maybe it's just a reaction to something that I should understand instead. I wonder if you also had this, first reaction that it's nonsense, and then you somehow made sense of it, how this could be useful, or did you immediately, basically the idea was immediately close to you?
I would say I appreciated the idea pretty early on. I was aware of, like, I've always been kind of technically interested, at least to some extent. Like, I'm not really a developer or coder, but I'm an engineer. And so I'm interested in the technical side of cryptocurrency. And I've been involved for quite a long time. And so like in 2000, I think 15 maybe, I was aware of bit crystals, which used the counterparty protocol on Bitcoin to mint like digital trading cards. And so that was like one of the very first NFTs. And I had a friend from Monero who was really into Pepe Cash and rare Pepes, which was like I think 2016 maybe or 17 on Counterparty as well. And so I actually have like I have some of the very first rare Pepes, which at the time at the time they were worth like maybe $5, and it was like whatever. Like I'm glad I still have the wallet because they're pretty valuable now. But yeah, like on Ethereum, when it started really going crazy in 2021, I was just more like, what the fuck is this shit? Like it seemed like a kind of scam pump and dump. And I was not super interested, to be honest, in that. But I have a friend, actually, my friend Cardi Sewell is the actual creator of Wownero, the meme. I'm just like the person who launched the cryptocurrency network. He's the real creator. Like he did all the logos and branding and stuff. And I knew him from Monero for a long time, and we actually lived close, like a couple hours away from each other in California. And so we would hang out sometimes after the creation of Wownero in particular, I guess. But I think before that as well, I probably hung out with him like, I don't know, 5 or 10 times when I lived out there. And anyway, so we were friends, and he got really interested in the NFT world because he's an artist. I mean, so, and in terms of like the kind of more the business side of art, he was really interested in it from the artist perspective. Like when it's very hard to get your work into a gallery, which if you want to sell your artwork, you basically have to get it into a gallery. And then B, once you're in a gallery or something, whatever sells, the gallery is going to take half, is kind of the standard arrangement. So this new format, which allowed artists to sell their work digitally, where they get like 100% or very close to it of the sale price. And on top of that, they get like these residual royalty payments. He was like super into it, and just the culture in general. He still is. He works at OpenSea now. And he got me and another guy who's actually also kind of involved in Wownero, is a menace. And we started a company called Patron, which was created to make like a crowdfunding platform for NFTs for artists to post their work, and then people could like it by sending a little bit of ETH, and if it met the artist's goal, then it would mint like an NFT or a series of NFTs to send to all of the people who liked it. And like it ended up like the company's still around. We ended up releasing a bunch of NFTs under this Art 101 label, which we gave away for free, and then made some money on the residual royalty sales on OpenSea during like NFT mania season of late 2021. But yeah, I guess I always understood the utility, I think, and especially now, like I still think like more than ever that like they're valuable as a way for natively digital artwork to be owned and sold. And they're valuable like as a mechanism for ticketing for live events, or for items in a video game, or as like a key to unlock a video game, and a lot of other things as well. But yeah, like the $1 million monkey pictures are still kind of like, what the fuck, right?
Yes. One thing that I immediately thought of that I immediately saw, yes, this I see how it can be really useful is, for instance, you mentioned video games, and I thought like, let's say that you play a game and then basically you have an item in a game, and let's say that you could own that item, like a sword or whatever, and basically you could own it in each of the iterations of that game, right? Or even if the official server goes down, you still own that sword if someone makes a private server and so on. Let's say how they're doing it in, for instance, Ultima Online that has all these private servers. And basically the idea is to have that item independent of the server. Sounds like it makes sense to me. But I don't think
yeah, I agree 100%. Like, and it's insane how much money is being spent on digital items like a sword by kids on Roblox. If everyone knows what Roblox is, it's like this kind of like hangout multiplayer world. Like
right.
I think that they make like $500 million every couple of months selling digital
Wow.
T-shirts, basically.
Wow. My first experience with this goes back to, I doubt you ever heard it, but there was a Swedish game called Project Entropia, and it had like a digital economy. Even this was before Bitcoin, and already then there were people buying guns and so on for $15,000, and back then it sounded like insanity, but they were already doing it. Oh, by the way, if anyone wants to ask anything or have a comment, please, you can just click raise your hand and I will give you speaker status. Otherwise, what is your, I wanted to ask you, what is your intuition about where, what will happen with the Wownero in the future? What do you think? Do you have any intuition about it, or probably you're surprised yourself, right? I mean,
I think it's always kind of questionable, like who's going to be there to work on it. And we've had this guy Wownero has been like the main core contributor, and I don't think he's going anywhere. Like, and I think he's capable of keeping the kind of core code up to date with Monero. So I think it'll continue to exist and like plug along. And like in terms, but like I think to really grow and I really think, not to be like overly dramatic or harsh, but I think, if you're a cryptocurrency network and you're not growing, then maybe you're already dead. I think it's really hard to kind of like go back and forth in terms of growth and like not growing as a cryptocurrency. So I think like it requires additional apps and websites around for people and people making use of them as well. Which it seems like lately there's been like Stack Wallet has added support, and Majestic Bank has been really supporting Wownero a lot, and we've had some really long-time contributors who have been keeping up the Such Wow meme tipping website and the desktop wallet, not Feather Wallet. So like I think as long as those people are around, and it seems like there's more and more people around chatting and stuff, so it doesn't feel like it's going away, but who knows? I don't know. It's hard to say. Beyond the next year or two, I guess my intuition would be that it's kind of bubbling along, like, and maybe to some extent its future is kind of tied to the future of Monero.
Right.
Where, because it's kind of mostly known by folks in the Monero community, I would say. So if that community continues to grow and those people kind of have more of an audience, then that would be beneficial for WoW for sure.
Thank you for that. Let's say if nobody wants to ask questions, I would slowly conclude this, but I would like to end with with the last question I want to ask you, and it's a bit unrelated to this. You know, I'm making these spaces, and okay, for now there has been a pause, but before I was making the spaces mostly with Monero folks. They were basically privacy spaces, and then I'm followed by the Cred people, and recently some Digibyte and Zcash people, and so on. And we created a Telegram group, which is called the NSA, which jokingly
Nice.
jokingly an acronym for the No Scam Alliance. You know, it's just basically we're talking to each other about what these projects have in common in terms of not being scams. Now, interestingly, I remember in 2013, the criteria were very different than today. Basically, back then,
No, yeah, that's actually very relevant to Wownero, I would say, and it's something that I have pretty strong feelings about, I would say. So
yes,
I think that's
exactly.
a good question.
Yes, exactly. This is what I want to know from you. But you know, because in 2013, scam was already, if you had, like, let's say, a pre-mine, it was considered a scam a priori. Everything had to be proof of work only, and it needed to be pre-announced. So no ninja scamming, ninja mining, sorry. But then the criteria changed a lot. Like now people wouldn't say, you know, pre-mine is a scam, like if it's disclosed. Then, you know, it changed a lot. Like now the criteria are very, for most people are very low. I think just if it doesn't rug pull, it's not a scam. But anyway, personally, I'm also not sympathetic to the, you know, attitude some Bitcoin maxis have to call everything a scam. I think that goes way too far. It doesn't make any sense. But I understand where they're coming from, because the space is so filled with scams that I understand that attitude also. Like, it's a heuristic, right? It's a heuristic. So because you cannot overview 3,000 projects, you just say everything except Bitcoin is a scam. But then you lose also some gems in the process, I think. So I want to know from you. So what do you think? What is a scam and what isn't a scam?
Yeah, I guess I would say that my views largely align with yours, what you just described. And I was on the side of, you know, in that Zcash is a scam, and even like Digibyte. Like I used to be involved when I was involved with like early on in Monero. I like this coin, Myriad coin, and Digibyte was like it was Myriad coin's like whole thing was that it used 5 different proof of work algorithms, so you could mine with like an ASIC or a CPU or a GPU. And there was Digibyte like basically copied that from Myriad Coin. So it was like the same thing, but it had like a 3% pre-mine or something. And I was like yelling on Bitcoin Talk, oh my God, Digibyte's a scam. It's such a ripoff, and they have a pre-mine. And yeah, like the attitudes have definitely changed. But I think like I think I can also appreciate like Bitcoin people's perspective that, you know, you can just, if you only buy Bitcoin, then it's not a scam. But yeah, Wownero launched in like as a contrast to this coin Monero V, which was forking off from Monero, and they were going to take a 10% pre-mine to like add Mimblewimble or some shit, and it was a total scam. And like even at that point, it was something that I had, like I just said, like thought a lot about, and it was becoming more and more of a like something that people maybe didn't care about as much. Like you said, as time went on, like people would just forego any proof of work stage for distribution, and like the percentages that like these foundations and companies and, you know, pre-sale buyers were getting up to like 80 and 90%. Like is just a whole different world now. But yeah, like in 2018 when I launched Wownero, and it was like this Monero V scam taking 10% of the coin supply, I set up Wownero's emission to like the coin emission is all proof of work. There's no pre-mine, and it takes place over like 50 years or 60 years, as opposed to Monero's like initial 18 million were all minted in less than 10 years. And like 50% of the coins that will basically ever exist on Monero's network were mined in the first year, right? And like 50% of all Bitcoin that will ever exist was mined in the first 4 years. And so like that's, if you want to be a worldwide trusted currency, like in my mind, you can't take even 1% of the coin supply for yourself or your foundation or whatever. Like 1% of all the money in the world is like, it's not a little bit. Like if you really have designs on being some, you know, universal payment network. But most coins nowadays don't have those kind of ambitions, I guess. So maybe it's less of a big deal. But yeah, Wownero's emission, like I think 50% of all the WoW won't be mined until like 2035 or something. So it's a very, so I think like at the time that it launched, Wownero may have been like the most fair or least scam coin ever. Because it was pre-announced and there was miners available, mining pools were out, and like a lot of people kind of started mining right away. Until now, I think it's been superseded by Grin, which I love Grin also. Grin is definitely the most fair cryptocurrency at this point, I think. But yeah, that's something that the definition has kind of changed over time. And you know, like I think Decred had like a 5% pre-sale or pre-mine, and I know there's like strong communities around coins like that have the kind of a base of support, and it I don't know how much of a like a handicap it gives those coins. Like I think most people like don't care anymore, but I do think like it matters to me, I guess, and I think if you really have ambitions of being used by everyone in the world or potentially being used by everyone in the world, like if you're not Bitcoin or Ethereum, like, or Ethereum, I guess maybe Ethereum. I mean, some people try and still make a big deal out of Ethereum's coin distribution, but I think that's more of a not an issue at this point. But like, yeah, like these big kind of company coins like Solana, and now there's like Sui and Aptos. Like they keep releasing new coins with worse and worse distributions. I don't know. I think it's one more obstacle for like older coins to try and overcome. I don't think it's necessarily like a killer, but I also said like, you know, I feel like once you're not growing, you're dying, and I don't know. Sorry to end on a gloomy note about the anti-scam alliance, or the non-scam alliance.
Right.
But I'm a believer in non-scams. Like I definitely think not being a scam is important if you want to have a real grassroots community. And the definition has certainly shifted. Like I don't know if I would still call Digibyte a scam. At least maybe not in public, I guess. I don't know.
Right, right.
And I have to be a little more political now because I am on the board of Magic. And like I met these people, like I know Ruben of Firo, and like Firo is the same kind of thing. Like I'm happy that they still exist and they're like doing work to push technology forward, like Particle, which used to be Shadow Cash. Like, and you know, if you asked me in 2015, I certainly would have told you they are that 4-letter word that starts with S. But now they're doing work to have cross-chain DEX that's easily usable that supports Monero and this basic swap that's created by Particle. And Decred, like I actually, you know, I was more a fan of Decred as like a real experiment in proof of stake, and it was founded by one of the guys who was really involved in Monero. So I guess I was maybe open to giving it a little more respect. Like in 2015, I didn't get into ETH early because I was like, oh, that's a scam. Like they have a big fucking pre-sale, total fucking scam, right? Like, yeah, like so Decred, like I had a bit more respect for it, but like, and Decred is the same. Like they're experimenting and really trying to push forward with technology, which I think is very important. And like that's the mission of Magic. Like ultimately, the most important thing is that there's people out there creating privacy preserving technology, and sending money around is a very important part of free speech, in my opinion, and your right to privacy.
Yeah, that was really good. You're right. Yeah, personally, I think Luke, the developer of Bitcoin, said once that he doesn't think. I mean, his belief was that if everything is properly disclosed, then it's not a scam. That was his view. I think properly disclosing everything is really important. Like telling people upfront exactly.
Yeah, and Decred was a lot more upfront and open about everything for sure.
Yeah,
And
I wrote a blog in which I defined Decred for this reason as a kind of electronic peer-to-peer corporation, instead of an electronic peer-to-peer money, right?
right, and they have the money going into the treasury directly, which is much better than Zcash with their kind of real corporation, right? That was just taking the money for a long time. Is definitely a better model. I agree.
Yeah, but I am sympathetic to what you said. I think the idea that if you're aiming to be global money, then that could be perceived as an issue. Like you said, maybe that's why I wrote it like that. Electronic peer-to-peer corporation, because the treasury itself makes it already more corporation-like. But I think there is space for that to basically what the concept of the DAO, right?
Yeah, Decred is yeah more like the original DAO, and I think that
Exactly.
they're not a scam. And I'm like, so if I'm not going to call Decred a scam, then sure, here's a
scam. One of my Bitcoiner friends, he said always that his view on this is like, is it worth the scam? So, whatever project he looks at, he always looks at the technology. Is the technology worth the scam? He said, because his attitude is that everything is a scam, but then is it worth the scam? So thank you for giving us the perspective. I think we agree on that. I don't know. I just think that it would be useful to bring back this separation. What is a scam, what isn't a scam. To talk about this sometimes, because I think in today's crypto world, like that dividing line totally disappeared. Like that worries me a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. And that's actually something that somebody who's like a big person, WoW supporter, I guess I would say, is they're really on that like proof of work, fairness angle, and we're is like looking at how to kind of promote that maybe.
I really enjoyed this talk. I know you have to go soon. Thank you so much. I mean, it's been a real pleasure.
Sure, anytime. I love to talk. So anytime. And I'm always happy to come show Wownero or talk about whatever. So
that's amazing. I hope we can do this again. Thank you, John, and see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Have a good day.
Thank you for being
Bye.
here. Thanks, everyone.